My name is Peter Davison. I played the Fifth Doctor, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls.
The tangents we continue all the way to episode 229 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And forget New York or Sokovia or Wakanda. Apparently, as far as the MCU is concerned, the next great threat is in Indiana. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do every week on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indiana.
Ground zero.
Not quite. Muncie is a bit north of me.
I was going to ask when I saw that they were in Indiana. I'm like, wait a second. Wasn't the one time when they were in Wisconsin too?
Yes, they were in Milwaukee, like 3 hours away from where I'm located. It's just like,
We'll get to that though. Oh my. Oh, Marvel, what are you doing to me? First things first, though, we need to do the news. So, and first up, couple of pieces of 10 o'clock news. It's been very busy in Hollywood last couple of days. Couple of passings. First up, a Hollywood legend, really, Doris Day has passed away at the age of 97. So,
good long life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she was really big in the 50s and 60s with films and music. So.
And then I think she hosted a TV talk show, if I remember correctly.
It would not surprise me. It seemed like during the 50s and 60s, like everybody had their own show with their name on it at some point. Back in the day, we had celebrities with their own shows instead of reality TV. But yeah, 97, that's a nice long life. And she's just one of those that she is ended up ingrained in pop culture. Like she gets name dropped in oh crap, what's the song from Grease? Sandra Dee. Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee.
Sandra Dee, yep.
Yeah. So and then the other passing of note was actually today, as we're recording this, Tim Conway, who was part of the cast of the Carol Burnett show, has passed away at the age of 85. So, which as brilliant as Carol Burnett is, and I love the Carol Burnett show as a whole. That's one of those shows that, we'll never see the likes of again, probably. No. But Tim Conway, I always enjoyed watching because he was the one that was always trying to screw up everybody else.
Yes.
Especially Harvey Korman. If he could get Harvey Korman to laugh and break character during a skit, he considered it a gold star on his record.
Yeah, because I can't remember. I had watched some certain documentary that Carol Burnett had done about the show. It was either Corman or Tim Burnett who had gotten pulled over by a police officer, because I can't remember if he had surgery or whatever, but he was wrapped up like a mummy. And he had actually redid his license to match what he was wearing. So I don't know if he had this plan for a stunt or what, but he wound up getting pulled over. And she's just, Tim, or I think it might have been Tim, he hands the officer his driver's license and it matched.
That's awesome. I love it.
If you've somehow, if any of our listeners have somehow never seen anything from the Carol Burnett show, or very minimal, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Look up the dentist sketch.
Yes.
Yes.
That is my all-time
You can
favorite.
literally see Harvey Korman wet his pants.
Yes. Yeah. You can tell Harvey Korman is trying his best, but then he loses it. He's done.
Yeah. And that's one of the probably greatest sketches in like variety show history.
Yeah.
That doesn't have like Carol Burnett as the star of it. There's some other really well-known sketches of the Carol Burnett show, but specifically talking Tim Conway, especially messing with Harvey Korman, that's just right there. that does it. So.
Yep, the skit that broke Harvey Korman, that be the dentist. Yep.
Yes. Oh my. So both of those legends they're thankfully they shall live on in recorded history.
Yes.
I get tears in my eyes just thinking about the dentist sketch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And not normally why you would cry over a dentist.
Yeah, I would say usually the dentist. I get tears for another reason, but
yes. This is the one dentist that you like.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever want a dentist like that to treat me.
True.
But I'm scared of a dentist for a whole other reason. Oh my. Moving on to across the pond. Recently, there was the BAFTA TV Awards.
I always forget they split the. I always forget that BAFTA switches. Doesn't do TV and movies together.
Yeah, unlike us, we're all like. Well, we do some separate, but not of the same organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously this is all British television, obviously BAFTA. But a few notable nominations / wins, including Benedict Cumberbatch winning for Best Leading Actor for his role in Patrick Melrose. The award for reality and constructed factual.
That's an
interesting.
That's a mouthful.
Yes.
What is construction factual? I've never heard of it.
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
That sounds like something the doctor would come up with to describe something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Reality we understand. Reality TV we totally get. But construction factual, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if that's like not necessarily like a documentary, but maybe like a live, like non-scripted type show that's not necessarily a reality TV show.
Gotcha.
Just looking at the nominees, I don't know.
Because I think Dragon's Den is kind of like our Shark Tank.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Old people's home for 4-year-olds. I don't know what that is, but I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah.
But the winner was I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which normally I would not be necessarily be of note, but it just so happens that the most recent season, which I'm sure was included in the nomination, which was part of the nomination, was the most recent season had John Barrowman as one of the contestants, and if people don't know, John Barrowman actually came in third.
Oh, nice.
And Rachel, your favorite doctor, also took part in this.
Yes,
competition
several years ago.
So, yes.
That's how I first heard
Not
about
as
that.
recently, but
Right.
Yes. Yeah. They've tried to do it here, and it just hasn't quite taken off. But across the pond, they love it. So
What is it like survival for celebrities?
yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. In a nutshell.
Yeah. And then they have a category that can be voted on by the public. It's called Virgin Media's Must-See Moment. And I have no idea what the winner was, but just wanted to bring up the fact that that was Doctor Who's one nomination. And it was specifically for in the episode Rosa, where at the end when they're on the bus and they realize they have to stay on the bus to make sure that history goes the way it's supposed to with Rosa Parks's protest. Yeah. But apparently some person getting assassinated in some other TV show was the winner. So,
I've only heard of those nominees. I've only heard of 3 of them.
yeah.
No, 4.
Yeah. Everybody knows Coronation Street, even if it's just by name.
I only really know it because that one special Doctor Who, they did a somewhat crossover.
Yeah.
What, the 30th anniversary, I think it was, that one? I don't know.
Something like that.
Could have been something, yeah.
That. Oh, so there's that. So too bad Doctor Who didn't win, but at least it got nominated.
Real quick, before we get to the other news, I looked up what constructed factual means.
Oh, okay.
It will honor shows where participants are put into environments or formats, then absorbed, interacting in situations devised by the producers. So, like, yeah. I don't want
So
to
they
any
had-
kind of the shows,
so the-
but
Participants have no control over what's happening to them, but someone else does.
so I guess it's like I guess Big House, right? That
Probably like
Big Brother.
Big Brother.
Big Brother. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
I don't watch these shows. I just see them.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, and I'm a Celebrity is kind of like that, where they have like challenges where obviously the producers and the writers or whatever have come up with the challenges and stuff. So, but it doesn't necessarily either have to be a game show format. It's just it's not scripted. Interesting.
They tell us it's not scripted.
Yeah.
I know some of them a little iffy. Like,
Well, I mean, they're not playing characters reciting lines. That's essentially what they mean by non-scripted.
true.
Usually. With reality TV, though, you never know.
No, exactly.
Okay.
10, 15 years later, oh yeah, there's scripts.
Yeah, that was totally planned.
Okay, I looked at the old people home for 4-year-olds and it sounds adorable. Preschoolers share their classrooms with pensioners for an extended period of time. It will explore these situations where 4-year-olds and 84-year-olds work and play together. If they drastically improve the health and happiness of the older group.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, I totally need to look at that. I'm going to look for clips on YouTube when we're done.
Me too. Once we're off, yeah, I think I'm going to be taking a peek.
Yep. All right. Moving on to scripted television. Definitely scripted. But The Orville has been renewed for season 3.
Yoo-hoo!
Oh, is it real?
Time. We got news.
Which, considering how strong the season ended, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched the season 2 finale the other day. So. It's really good. The last 2 episodes, kind of a two-parter, but
Mm-hmm.
not really. Like it doesn't necessarily end on like the first episode doesn't necessarily end on like a cliffhanger like a traditional two-parter was, but it's like it's a story arc that goes over like two
Mm-hmm.
episodes. So
Yep.
which I was not firing on all cylinders when the finale started, even though I'd read the description. I'm like, it wasn't until we got so far in. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing here.
Yes. I'm liking
I
it
was
even
really
more.
confused. Yeah.
Head scratch. Oh, head scratch solved. Okay.
Yeah. Like, what is this? What? Oh, okay.
Okay.
I like it. It was good.
I love the nods to stuff that had happened earlier in the season, though.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
all comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Back across the pond for a moment. We should get frequent flyer miles for this without ever leaving our home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, obviously, as we reported last week, the newest royal had arrived, and now we have a name.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry and Meghan's son is henceforth known as Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the name Archie, depending on what sources you look at, means brave and source of action. And Harrison literally means son of Harry. And unlike William and Kate's kids, because Harry has the advantage, I guess, or privilege, the option, has the option because he is so far back in the line of succession that he has more options as far as naming his child. So Archie will not have a title, unlike William and Kate, where they're all prince or princess, their royal highnesses. Although Archie could be the Earl of Dumbarton,
Right.
they have decided not to give him that title, at least for now.
Right.
Um,
Or unless Great Granny decides to make a little rule change and Archie can be also.
well, she would have to bestow that title upon him in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a given. The Queen actually has to bestow that title upon said person. Just like when Harry and Meghan got married, they became the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Those were titles that were given to them by the Queen on their marriage. Since they have decided to have Archie be more of a private citizen as opposed to a full, acting like a full-on royal, at least at this point, he will not have any titles. So he will be known as Master Archie, really, if you want to call him anything. And Mountbatten Windsor is technically the last name of the royal family, even though none of them actually use last names. But Windsor is the House of Windsor. That was Queen Elizabeth's family's last name. And then Mountbatten is Prince Philip's legal last name before he married the Queen, which if you watch The Crown, you would know that. So what though when Charles becomes king, Archie will get the title of His Royal Highness Prince Archie, because at that point he will be the grandchild of the sovereign as opposed to the great grandchild. So
Gotcha.
So it depends on where you are in the line of succession, and also in relation to whoever is the sovereign at the time. So not confusing at all.
No, not at all.
No.
Yeah, or the fact that they have other titles when they go to some other countries, like when they go to Scotland, they have different titles that they're known of like Scotland versus the rest of the UK. So, but as far as we're concerned, he's baby Archie until he's not a baby anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I know a lot about the royalty, but I always don't, apparently. Like, I always find out something new. Anytime something happens, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and you know, as much of it is steeped in tradition, and they try to stick with as much tradition as possible, because that is not tradition anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, because Harry is so far back in the line of succession, he gets a bit more wiggle room, because if something like exceedingly drastic would have to happen for him to ever become king. Because Charles is next, and then William after that, and then his 3 children are in line after that. So at this point, Harry is 6th in line. So I'll put Archie 7th in line. And that's if William and Kate don't have any more kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the fact that because Meghan is an American and she's going to have those ties no matter what for the rest of her life. The other half of Archie's grandparents, great grandparents, are all Americans. So it's a little different for them, but I think it works for them too, because I think that fits their lifestyle more too.
Yeah.
They definitely roll to the beat of their own drum. Harry and William always have, and Diana, I think, always instilled that, that independence in them. Be respectful to what's expected of you, but at the same time, don't be beaten down by it. Make sure to be your own person. And Archie's just a fun name.
It is. I like how that's his actual name, not like a nickname, like Archibald or...
Yeah, they didn't give him the full Archibald.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then last up, I'll put a link, and obviously I put links to everything in the show notes, but over the weekend, if you saw on our Instagram, I posted some pictures, but over the weekend, Chauncey and I went down to Hanover, Indiana, which is about an hour and a half southeast of Indianapolis. As the crow flies. And we went to for me, it was another. For Chauncey, it was the first time going to one of these, but it was another wrestling event put on by Supreme Wrestling. And once again, we got to see now friend of the show, Jacob the Carpetbagger. It was the showdown of all showdowns, him against Mortimer Blankenship III, the fight for the mutton chops. Whoever won this wrestling match would have to shave off his mutton chops. And if you watch, I'll put a link to Jacob's video. But spoiler alert, it did not go well. The entire evening was quite entertaining. That wasn't the only match. There were a good number of matches. They even had a Royal Rumble where it was like 35 wrestlers all in the ring at the same time. And essentially it was a free-for-all. And as you got pushed out of the ring, you were eliminated. So, if someone got a hold of you and flipped you over the ropes and you ended up on the ground, you were out, till it got down to, last wrestler standing, essentially. And then the final match was a tag team, which included WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, who at 70 years old could still kick my butt. easily kick the butt of a lot of people from the looks of him. But it was fun to see Jacob. I got to talk to him before everything kicked off, and he was excited. It was a long time childhood dream of his to get into the ring properly with the gear and everything and go one-on-one with someone. And I talked to him after the match as well, and he's ready. He's already started his revenge plot. So this isn't over by any means at all. So, but it was fun to see Jacob and be there to cheer him on. There was a group of people that sat next to us that were also there to be part of the crowd, what crowd we had rooting for Jacob. So, but it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. Definitely entertaining, and to get to see someone that I know wrestle properly this time in a proper match, unlike last time I saw him where he just kind of got roped into it. No pun intended. And then to watch a Hall of Famer, former professional wrestler wrestle too. That was pretty cool as well. So, and obviously, if and when Jacob figures out when he's going to get revenge, I'll try to make sure to share that event information with our listeners. So. Oh my. Well, that is it for the news. Excuse me. And we don't have any feedback, so let's move on to this week's main topic, which is the return of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Woo! Woo-hoo! So, season 6 has begun, and it's like a lot of it is the same yet not. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, there's Mac, and there's May and Yo-Yo, and we got a lot of familiar faces that we recognize. We got some new faces, a number of new faces, which is good. Because the team was quite thin at the end of last season. I like the recap at the top of the episode. It kind of gives you the cliff notes of last season, and the entire time I'm like, crap, we went through a lot last season.
Yeah,
yes, we did.
In case if you didn't have a chance for a rewatch, here you go.
Yeah. So, but now it's essentially it's a year later, and Coulson, as we know him, is gone. And Mac is now the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., doing best he can. I think he's taken to the job. As far as the job is concerned, he seems to be doing well at it. He's always been a pretty good leader, very strong, and very, very capable. Mac has always been. Of course, it's at the detriment of any professional relationships, because he and Yo-Yo at some point broke up. So that ship has sunk, at least at the moment, which sucks. Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot of ships.
No, and the one ship
there's
that
not
we
a lot of
do
ships
have is kind of in rough shape.
Yeah, as far as the MCU is concerned, we don't really have a lot of ships that are sailing happily at this point. if at all, actually. Nope. Well, we don't have any ships sailing happily, actually, in the MCU at the moment.
No, we don't.
Not really. People are missing. People are dead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People just broken up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MCU, why do you do this to us?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Oh. So our team is kind of broken up into three bunches. So we've got the team on Earth, which is, I guess, Shield proper, which is Mac, May, Yo-Yo, a bunch of new folks that eventually will learn their names, hopefully. The
I can remember.
scientist guy who's, I think, still on the fence on whether he wants to take this job, which apparently was a former professor of Andrews, which is a nice callback to Andrew. I liked how he's like aliens and freaky stuff. He's like, I don't want to do anything to do with this. And till Mac was like, well, some of our best minds are in deep space. And he's like, did you say deep space?
I like how it's deep space. I'm like, how's that different than space? It's still space.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'll be excited for it either. So
yeah, it's space. So we've got that crew, and then we've got the deep space crew, which is Daisy and Gemma and Piper and Davis. Is that the guy's name? Which apparently is all's left. I think they insinuated that they had more, but this is who's left. And they're still on the hunt for Popsicle Fitz. And then
may or may have not escaped, and if he did, where is he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he survived. We could at least say that. I wouldn't say he's necessarily escaped it in the best living conditions, because they changed the timeline last season by letting Coulson die and Daisy not quaking the Earth apart. Fitz did not have to be in the cryo for 70 plus years, and therefore, but the Confederacy is still a thing, and the ship that he was on with Enoch got attacked and essentially cut in half, and Fitz ended up someplace. And we have no idea at the moment if Enoch has survived and is with him or not, because we only see Fitz at the very end. He's like the teaser.
Yep.
He's the mid-credit tag for the episode. So he's alive. We know that. Beyond that, we don't know what's going on with Fitz.
He's alive, but is he anything? I don't know.
Yeah. He's alive. They'll probably find him eventually, but it's probably not going to go well. Because this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, and I love the alien's reaction to when Daisy shows up and it's just like, oh, who are you?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not armed. And like, no, you don't need to be armed. You have arms. Like, your arms make you armed.
Yeah. And then the lackey shows head alien boss the tablet and it's like, oh, Quake. I mean, I just got flashbacks to the Doctor Who episode where the Dalek bumps into River Song and she's just like, look me up in your records.
Yeah. Mercy.
Yes, exactly. It's like, oh, crap.
Yep.
We're in trouble.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Daisy and Gemma together, they make a good team.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, but it's very obvious that Gemma is more single focused. her only focus is find fits, find fits, find fits, find fits. Everybody else, they want to find fits too, but they want to survive in the process. So they're out in who knows where in space using that jump device that they picked up last season. And the Zephyr is not in the best shape. So it's like 3 out of 4 really want to go home, do repairs on the Zephyr, get more supplies, get more fuel, maybe get some intel, that sort of thing. Regroup and start again. And Gemma's like, no, screw you, and send them off to where she thinks Fitz is, which is where the cryopod was manufactured. But majority of the focus is on Earth, because now they've got this whole they never came up with an actual name because they were trying to come up with names with what's happened. They're like, anomalies. Like, no, we used that word last year. They're like little wormhole or like portals or something that apparently open up somewhat randomly, it seems like, and if you don't get through the portal properly, you could get stuck, which is what happened to one of these guys because they came through essentially a concrete wall. The guy becomes part of the concrete wall. Kind of reminds me of a Creel.
Yeah.
And transport technology gone horribly awry.
Yeah. It's like, have you guys not seen Star Trek?
Yeah.
And apparently you just you pop up and they have an idea of where you're going to pop up and when, because the guy who got stuck in the concrete wall has his little timer countdown iPhone thing, which gives the coordinates and a countdown to when one of these things is going to open up, because apparently this has been happening all over the place, but they're never able to they're registering the atmospheric or energy distortion or whatever these portals cause is coming up on their equipment, Shield's equipment, so they know it's happening, but they don't know it's happening until it's happened. By the time they get there, it's already over, and they miss out on pretty much the entire thing. But now that they got this guy's device, they have a countdown, they have coordinates, which take them to Muncie, Indiana. I wasn't sure where in Indiana, because when I was watching it, when it was actually airing Friday night, I was watching on my TV, which I have an old school TV, one of those old big boxy ones. So the aspect ratio does not match up what modern television shows broadcast at, because everything's in HD or Super HD or 4K or whatever, which doesn't work on old school TV. I mean, you can see it, but stuff gets cut off on the sides because it's not widescreen. So all I saw was the Indiana part, and the city got cut off. So I didn't know exactly where they were. It wasn't until I watched it again on Hulu and I could get the entire screen and see the entire thing, where I was like, oh, Muncie, I know where that is. That's where that's the home of Ball State University, where David Letterman went to college. I know people that live there. I almost went to college there, actually, at Ball State. It's like, obviously that was not shot at Ball State. I would have known if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had filmed in Indiana.
You would have been posting pictures and you would have been staking out, I believe, if that were the case.
Yeah. Obviously that was shot probably in Los Angeles or somewhere in California, probably at a university or the like somewhere. It's supposed to be like the Museum of Natural Science and History or something in Muncie, which I would assume Muncie has something like that, but that was not Muncie, unfortunately, because that would have been awesome. Like Ming Na Wen, Clark Gregg, they're in my state. Bye bye. Work, I'm sick.
Yeah. I came down with a sudden mysterious illness.
But what's funny? What's funny is it's like I know they didn't film that in Indiana, but Elizabeth Henstridge actually comes to Indiana quite often because her now fiance is a Hoosier and actually lives here.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So when she came for PopCon last year, it was not a big deal for her because at the time her boyfriend and his family are from this area, and he's still, I guess, I don't know if he still lives here, but I guess like his family does, and they come and visit often enough. And actually I think when he proposed it was here in Indiana. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, why they put it in Indiana, because one of their stars essentially has a tie to Indiana, or it was just, let's pick a random spot that something normally like this wouldn't happen. I don't know. It's like, we've had Wakanda and the Battle of New York and Sokovia. Let's go to Muncie, Indiana.
Well, we have to make sure the Midwest gets represented.
Apparently. Which, funnily enough, they filmed, like, stuff doesn't get filmed in Indiana, but they'll go to Ohio, which is right next door. The entire bit that's supposed to be Stuttgart, Germany in the first Avengers movie, that's Columbus, Ohio.
Wow.
Yes. One of these days I need to get over there and figure out where it was they filmed all that, so I can be like, Tom Hiddleston stood here and told people to kneel and fought with Captain America. So yeah, they'll film next state over, but not here. Which, I can't really blame them because our weather here it's stupid. So yeah,
You want to be Ohio be similar?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're filming one scene, you can make it work. But like, if they stay in this area for a couple episodes, maybe it would be a little harder to work around the seasons and everything. Unlike California, where it's 70 degrees and sunny all year round, or so they make you think. Excuse me. Terrible.
Yeah, our areas aren't very good for continuity purposes when it comes to
yeah. If you just need a small window and you're never ever going to have to come back to do pickups or anything, you're fine.
Yep.
If you need a long stretch and you need the weather to be consistent, too bad. No, go somewhere else.
Yep.
It ain't happening. Once you get east of the Mississippi, you're screwed. Sorry.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Sorry. But yeah, so we've got this crew that we've got some names, but we don't really know who they are, where they come from, what they want. The guy in the concrete tried to give a warning, but it all other than it's coming, like what's coming, and then he turned into concrete again. So we don't really know what these people want and what they're here for, other than they kind of look like Ravagers from Guardians of the Galaxy with their crazy hairstyles and haphazard like leather and clothing and this, that, and the other thing. and then their obvious ringleader is Sarge, not the Sarge, right? Just Sarge, like his name is actually Sarge, like the doctor. Like it's not just a title; it's the actual name, I guess. Which we saw in the trailers and commercials going into this season, so we know being played by Clark Gregg. So looks like Coulson, sounds like Coulson, not Coulson.
Coulson, yeah.
As far as we know at this point. So, and we got the commercial or whatever at the end of this episode for the next episode. So the team knows that there's somebody running around with Phil's face on. We'll get more of May's reaction and everybody else's reaction, but obviously May's, because she was the last person to see Phil Coulson alive. And we don't really know a whole lot of what happened in Tahiti other than, they supposedly got more time together than they thought, because as far as what Phil had thought, Gemma told him he had days, weeks at best. How much more time they got, we don't know yet. May has been very close-lipped about everything, which, that's May. May has always kept things very close to the vest, doesn't talk about feelings and stuff, although she seems to be being a bit more open.
Yeah, she was very talkative. I'm like, well, for her, she was pretty talkative. Like, this is unusual.
Yeah. Well, and when she was sparring with Yo-Yo, and they were talking about, Yo-Yo supposedly flirting or being flirted to by this one new guy, and it turns out after the fact that they're already together, spending their evenings together, keeping each other warm, I guess. But, May says something like, if the last year has taught me something, is that, relationships, or something along the lines of, it's okay to open yourself up to a relationship, not to keep yourself so closed off, which is very astute for Agent May.
Mm-hmm.
Seems obvious to the rest of us, but this is Melinda we're talking about. So, really, this episode was set up. A lot of it was just set up. Just trying to bring us back the familiar faces, let us know where everybody is, what they're doing, and lay the groundwork for this season's antagonist, which is this group of ne'er-do-wells with a leader who looks like Coulson.
Now, Rachel, I can't remember. I've tried to watch twice. Was there any hint as to where they were floating out in space with Fitz from last season? Okay, so we haven't really a clue as to where they could be.
Nope.
Okay, because I was trying to think that tied in with Endgame at all, and I didn't see anything yet.
Yeah.
To my recollection,
So,
I'm trying to pay attention. Like, okay, is there a hint? Isn't there?
Let's talk about continuity.
Okay, so
with
that was
the
a good
bigger
segue.
MCU.
All right.
Yes. Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Now, let's just preface this with, considering the circumstances, I understand. I'm not knocking anybody. And the fact that we already know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has already been renewed for season 7, I think will help.
Yes.
Because they knew that the show had been renewed. We knew that last year. At the time, they weren't sure when it was going to come back. I've read different things that kind of contradict each other, and I've not been able to find proper links to articles or actual interviews with showrunners or directors or anything or writers to actually confirm anything. So take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because it's all stuff I've just been reading on the internet. And, if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
Right?
So
There's some sites I trust more than others.
yes, exactly. Well, most of this comes from Reddit. So again, take this with a grain of salt. But it does come from the official Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. subreddit. So
Okay.
again,
A little more
grain of salt.
validity, but yeah.
Yeah. So they knew Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. was coming back for a 6th season. They didn't know at the time when it was renewed when exactly it was going to come back. Supposedly it could have came back in January and then ended up getting this May post Endgame return. We have discussed in the past about how it seems like the movies and the TV shows don't communicate with each other, but they've always made it work. And there's obviously at least some communication. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten the whole helicarrier thing in Age of Ultron.
Right.
With, Coulson being the one making sure that Nick Fury got that. It's like people not watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have no idea that when Fury shows up with that helicarrier at Age of Ultron, he got that from Phil.
Yeah. hey, Phil, I need you to do me a solid.
Yeah. Yeah. When the Avengers lose, when Loki's scepter goes missing, which we now know, it was taken by Hydra in the first Avengers, thanks to Endgame. I'm not worrying about spoilers at this point. The Russo said it's fine. That we know Hydra gets her hands on it, and eventually, going back to Age of Ultron, the Avengers find it because that is the whole catalyst for the Mind Stone and Vision and blah, blah, blah. We all know that. But again, if you've watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson and his crew was the one that found it, told Maria Hill so that Maria Hill could tell the Avengers. So, and they've had things like acknowledging the death of Peggy Carter from Civil War and all that. So they've done a pretty decent job about loosely keeping things connected. However, because Infinity War and Endgame were filmed back to back, essentially as one big ass movie, which makes sense because you've got a large cast, and if you can film as much as possible in a chunk of time, then you don't have to worry about actors' schedules.
Right.
So it makes complete sense that they would do that, and it helps with continuity and that sort of thing. But because it was filmed back to back, now more than 2 years ago, I guess we're looking at 2 years ago, because it's been a year since Infinity War, and they would have been filming that the year before. So 2 years ago, when they started filming all of this, because of the high level of secrecy required for Infinity War and Endgame, they weren't playing as fast and loose with, well, I don't want to say fast and loose because that makes it sound like they're being irresponsible, that they weren't being as open about what was happening, and especially how Endgame was going to fix the snap for the script writers for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. I could see where they wouldn't want to spill too much in case somebody leaked something or something got hacked. And yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect
sense. So to eliminate as many possible leaks and spoilers as possible, Feige and ABC not on the chat with each other quite as much.
Yep.
That, at least that's the way I understand it.
So we're just
Going
going
into
to
this-
act like we can't play and make nicey nice, and it's for other reason.
I'm sure as much as they would like to play nicey nice, it's just, you get production companies involved with a lot of potential loose lips. I mean, you can have people sign NDAs till their hand falls off. At the end of the day, you can't sew their mouth shut. This is not X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Right. Well, and considering a few of their big name stars who did sign the NDAs, are the worst violators of the NDA.
Exactly. When you can't have, Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland and Gwyneth Paltrow keeping their mouths shut.
And too, when they only send them their lines and not the whole script.
Yeah, and even then, though, there's still the potential for somebody saying something they're not supposed to. It's like when you can't get the biggest stars to keep their mouth shut, how do you expect the intern for catering and craft services to keep their mouth shut?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When they're so low on the totem pole, they figure, what the hell? They'll never know it was me, and if it did, I'm so low on the totem pole, if I get fired, oh well.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that. And supposedly Jed Whedon and the writers have essentially said that as far right now with what they have written and what's been filmed, because I don't know if we're going to get the entire season, and I guess we are going to get the season one fell swoop because it's a shorter season this season, right?
I actually don't know. I was going to ask you guys if you guys know how long the season's supposed to be.
Yeah. So I thought they'd said that somewhere that the season would be shorter.
Hold on.
Because of when it's starting to air.
Yeah, most summer shows aren't like a full, as long as like fall shows.
Yeah. So supposedly Jed Whedon and the writers have said, our bad, this doesn't necessarily fit with what has happened in Endgame because we didn't know. Because they legit didn't know how things were going to play out and therefore make this fit. Even though we got the nice Thanos name drop last season, but we've known for ages that Thanos was coming, so they were able to fit that in.
Okay.
No problem.
Season 6 is supposed to have 13 episodes.
Okay, so it is a shorter season. Yeah. So it's more than likely it's all been filmed. So that being said, there's always a possibility that stuff could be refilmed now that Endgame is out. If the season has not been completely filmed, they could possibly adjust it accordingly, or find some way to just kind of tie it up neatly in a bow. So going into season 7, we're right back where we're supposed to be continuity wise,
right,
with the larger MCU. There's also the little potential plot nugget from Spider-Man Far From Home. But again, as I mentioned when we were talking about the trailer for Spider-Man, that whole Nick Fury saying the snap put holes in our reality because of Mysterio, you really need to not necessarily take that at face value because of who Mysterio is. And again, I don't want to get into it because I don't really necessarily want to color anybody's expectations going into Far From Home. If they decide not to go with the well-known Mysterio origin, then I'll sound like a lunatic. I'll sound like she's crazy. She has no idea what she's talking about. Although, I mean, it's fact. It's in print. You can go look at the comics. Go to the Marvel Wiki. You can see what I'm talking about. So the greater continuity, they could still potentially make it work. That's what I'm trying to say. Right now, it doesn't seem to fit. I've seen people on Reddit try to mold it to try and make it fit. It really is just going to depend on where they go with this plot and what happens as they get into scripts and filming that may have been done after Endgame's release. Because even with the shorter season, they could have not necessarily filmed all 13, right away. They could do it in bunches.
Mm-hmm.
Just so they're not, working the cast and crew, to the bone, because these shows are very intensive as far as special effects and stunts and that sort of thing. So yeah, some TV shows, they don't necessarily film everything all at once. They'll film, a handful of episodes, take a break for maybe a couple weeks, let people rest, recoup, do other things, come back. So depending on what has been filmed, what has been written, it could still be fixed this season, or they may have to fix it going into season 7. If they can fix it at all.
Right.
Hopefully they do fix it. And I think maybe they'll try, because I think Jed Whedon as showrunner is respectful enough of the bigger MCU and what groundwork and everything has been laid out already, that hopefully I hope although he is a Whedon, so
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Big Brother has been known to, when he ends stuff, he does try to tie things up, even though if it might end on a little bit of a cliffhanger, he still leaves it there where it's at a good spot.
Yeah. Oh, being the big MCU Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan that I am, I just, I did name my new car Phil.
Nice.
And he will be appropriately decorated as such. As time permits. So being the big fan that I am, I am going into it with the positive assumption that they will try to fix things as best they can. Even if it's not all tied up pretty in a bow, which the MCU, they never do. No. There's always going to be threads left dangling. They left several with Endgame that will get picked up probably eventually, years down the road. I mean, Endgame itself picked up and tied off threads that had been left from movies that had come out like 5 years ago. So
yeah, I mean, we're talking phase 2, phase 1.
Yeah. There's some phase 1, there's some phase 2. We're getting ready to close out phase 3 and start phase 4. So, so yeah, it's kind of like Doctor Who, some plot threads will get tied off eventually. Others, they may leave us dangling for quite a while, but it'll get fixed eventually.
Yes.
Especially considering we know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is getting another season. If we didn't know we were getting a season 7, I would be way more concerned.
Yeah.
Yes. But the fact that we know it's coming back.
Because I can remember getting the news that, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been renewed for season 7. I'm like, wait a minute, what season?
I know. I was like,
what season did
we had that discussion.
Yeah, but but you know what I mean. It was just like, huh? What? Okay, yay, we'll take it.
Yeah. And that may have been because of what was coming down the pipeline with the greater MCU. They figured, why not? But I think season 7 will be it. If you supposedly one of the writers, like on their Instagram or Twitter or whatever, in their little bio, it says they're working on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7, and it says the last season. So I don't know if that's not anything official. They could just be assuming, or what. But I would assume season 7 would probably be the last for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which 7 seasons is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
7's a good long run.
And considering what they've done in with some of the OG characters in Endgame that, you know, these characters have not been around since, well, Coulson's been around literally since the beginning. He was there in Iron Man 1. You know, Clark Gregg, God love him.
Kind of weirding Pepper out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people talk about how everything started with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, but honestly, other than Stan Lee, like Clark Gregg has been like the most consistent Marvel character in the entire MCU has been Phil Coulson.
Yep. That's Agent.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, as much as I love Clark Gregg, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see him play the bad guy this time around. Yeah, he's a brilliant actor. He's one of my absolute favorite. Coulson is one of my absolute favorite characters in the MCU. He's up there with Iron Man. It's like Iron Man, Coulson, and Doctor Strange. Like those are my three guys. And Stan Lee. Yeah. But he goes without saying. It's like those are my three guys right there. And you know, if they can, you know, how this goes, whether that means we won't see Clark Gregg's face at all going into season 7, or, you know, somehow they find a way to bring a version of Coulson back. I don't know. It would be really weird to not see Clark Gregg's face at all. On Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, I mean, obviously he's sticking around. He's directing. He directed this episode. Yeah, this is the second episode. Job. Yeah, this is the second episode in the series he's directed. He directed one last season as well.
I'm always curious if, like, I hear, like, actors directing their own shows. And, like, I always wonder how they do that. Like, I'm pretty sure there's interviews I can look, but I'm just curious. Of, like,
usually they try to make sure that it's an episode where their main character is not in it very much.
As in, like, this episode, he didn't show up.
Yeah.
Until the very end.
Yeah.
And then, the episode he directed last season, I don't think Coulson was really in it because it was the episode where when they're still in the future, when Daisy has to do the fight, and Fitz, she has to do the fight, but this when Fitz has shown up.
Oh, and that's right.
They're trying to rescue Daisy and Gemma. So, which off the top of my head, Coulson was not in that episode at all. If he was, it was very little because that was a very like Gemma, Fitz, Daisy centric episode. Actually, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah, and obviously we got like, you know, we got Clark Gregg's face for like 30 seconds in this episode. So yeah, it's really easy for him to
couple
to
of lines.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you're with S.H.I.E.L.D., like, never heard of them. So, we'll see. Once again, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're right back where we are every season, where I'm happily glued to my TV. As I was saying in the chat, I'm like, they've sucked me right back in, not that I ever really left.
Right, exactly.
I've been in the car the entire time. It's just now I'm paying more attention to where we're going. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the next, 12 episodes take us as far as the gang is concerned. So. Any thoughts? Anything?
I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out.
Like, who are these guys and what's like?
How much are they going to make us cry? And too sad because right now the good ship Fitzsimmons is just kind of floating out in the water with no sense of direction. Just kind of going in circles, waiting for someone to take the helm. Although Jem is trying.
She is. I have to say, as much as I really want them together again and don't find Fitz, I was kind of with Daisy and everyone else. Like, you should go back, get refilled, get rest up, get knowledge, get more people. But also, I can also understand her wanting, like, she has a clue. I don't know.
That's because she ships it hard, just like us.
It's true.
Simmons ships Fitzsimmons.
Yeah, like, that's
Can
my
you blame her?
husband. He needs help. I'm the wife. I'm helping him.
All of this Fitz is going to be very confused when she does get to him and they get his brain sorted out, whatever. Like, Fitz, we found you. Oh, by the way, we're married and this is our grandson. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because this bitch won't know that. Oh, that's right. It reminds me of the Doctor Who with Amy Rory, that like alternate universe episode.
Oh yeah, with the Dream Doctor.
Yeah.
No, not the Dream Doctor.
Oh, okay.
The one with the silence and
the
eye patches, and like she goes like, "We're married."
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen that episode. I need to watch it again.
I know it's a bit like River and the Doctor too, where their timelines aren't in sync. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, as far as River's concerned, they're married and have been for a long time, and the Doctor's like, what?
Say what now, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of grandson, where is Deke?
Yeah, I don't know where Deke is.
Like the actor, which I can't remember his name, was credited.
Yeah, he's around. Because he and Chloe Bennett have become like BFFs. They've been hanging out in the off season, so getting into trouble.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
A little I know of Chloe.
The entire cast are just trouble.
It's true,
but the best kind of trouble. Well, if any of our listeners want to chime in, maybe you've got some wild theory on how to make where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is right now fit into the greater MCU continuity, we'll take it. You can send us your theories or thoughts or whatever feedback on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything else. Easiest way to do that is to send us an email, which is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on any of our other social medias, and you can find links to all those on our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com. So you can hit us up on the most common, most often used social media platforms. We're there. If you would like to financially support us, you can do that a number of ways. You can become a supporter on Patreon. There's a link to that on our website. You can send us a one-time donation via Ko-fi. You can, if you are shopping on Amazon, use our affiliate link. Click on it first, do your Amazon shopping, and we get a small kickback from that. It doesn't cost you any more. Or you can buy merch with our logo on it or a number of other designs. The Redbubble, which the link to that is also on our website. And of course, there's also the Goodreads Book Club. So speaking of Doctor Who, every month we read we pick a Doctor Who related book and then discuss it on Goodreads. So you can go join in the fun there. So with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bethlehem saying goodnight.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't remember who said it in the episode, but somebody said something about, Yo-Yo's kind of boyfriend, booty call, whatever. He said something about Mac being big. Mac being a big guy, and I'm like, yep. And I get to find out just how big in a few weeks of PopCon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you too want to find out how big Alfonso Mac McKenzie is, come to PopCon. It's next month.
Well, that's one way to advertise.
Yep.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefivishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.